Some disclaimers before we begin. This is not fuel for the gender war. I'm not preaching misogyny or misandry. I'm analyzing how society has changed over time, and I'm making observations. If you're red-pilled, you and get off my video. If you're a kill all men type, same to you, click off. I do not want you here. This video is for people who are interested into a deep dive as to how we got to modern dating culture and how that led to the birth of the performative male, a term of which I am sure many of you are familiar with. If you have been on the internet at any point within the last year, you will have at some point witnessed the rise of this particular breed of man. We don't need to sift through our For You pages for very long before we see something mentioning green juice, inbred Ewoks, or reading literature that makes you more open-minded. This horde of circle rim, tote bag wearing gentleman seems to have cropped up out of nowhere. The Benson Bane, if you will.
No one cared who I was until I picked up the matcha.
And as a phenomenon, they're fascinating to me. They're so interesting to witness. It's like watching those videos where you watch 10,000 AI try and learn how to play a game, but instead of playing Super Mario, they're trying to pick up women. Today, I'm gonna explain how we got there. So how did we get to this point? Now I know it has garnered a fair amount of criticism, and maybe for good reason, but I would like you all to hear me out. If not for any reason, then to give me watch time. I promise you'll learn something. And as another side note, 500 years ago, my ancestors had a dream. They said, "It is my dream to one day witness our great-great-great-great-grandson gain 50,000 subscribers on youtube.com before the end of 2025. They said that. All of them said that. So please subscribe. Me and my ancestors would greatly appreciate it. Now first, let's talk about what the word performative means. We probably already know what it means in this context. Performative, in the phrase performative male, means a guy who is shaping their image carefully to appeal to the opposite sex, in this case, women, to court them. It means someone who takes on certain character traits, some of them not necessarily genuine, in order to get laid. But being performative is something that everybody does. Everything you do, especially if it's a form of expression, is performative. But what does it really mean to be performative in relationships in general? And how did this lead to the birth of the performative male? Let's turn the clock back several hundred years and start by talking about the suitor formula. So oftentimes, traditionally, the courtship process went like so. Women would make themselves attractive / pander to men based on men's standards. Then men would vie for their Then men would vie for their attention by presenting themselves, and then women would accept or reject the suitor based on how the men presented themselves. Now, I realize that gender roles and women's rights back then were absolutely fucked, and even Prince Charming probably listened to Andrew Tate, but this suitor formula still remains very relevant, even today, like high schoolers asking girls to prom, or suddenly looking across a college classroom and hoping that your 1,000-yard stare is better than that other guy's 1,000-yard stare. There are, of course, outliers, okay? I'm not saying that, this isn't like a set in stone thing. Tons of het relationships out there subvert this formula, but it'd be stupid to say that the suitor formula is not a fundamental of how human relationships function. And what I explained is literally the plot of Okay, now I know that Pride and Prejudice is something that is a staple of performative males, but I thought it would be funny to include it. You know, this just makes it seem like I'm trying to... I promise it's a good analogy.
Man, I got bad bitches at the crib. Fuck you, me.
There's not that many well-known Victorian-era dramas out there involving a woman with several suitors. I haven't actually watched Pride and Prejudice, so this whole analogy is based off the Wikipedia plot summary that I read, and memories I have of watching my mom watch it as a kid, so bear with me. In Pride and Prejudice, 2005, Lizzie's parents want to marry her off, so they make a big deal about making her look pretty, which is performative, so significantly older men will want to approach her at social gatherings. Lizzie is donning an image, i.e. being performative. Again, both sides are still performative to a degree, but the pressure on the woman was largely just the whole, sit there and look pretty like a flower. That's also a part of the formula that is as old as time, but in this day and age, gives a lot of people the ick, for good reason. Anyways, throughout the story, Lizzie is shown a bunch of potential suitors, including a ginger guy, a groomer, and Cutler Beckett from Pirates of the Caribbean. But in the end, she chooses Matthew McFadden because he was nice or something. There's the suitor formula in action. Pretty girl exists, a bunch of fashionable and socially desirable men ask for her hand in marriage, and the pretty girl chooses her favorite. Again, I get it. It's Again, I know what the connotation of that is, but I'm trying to make a point. Every single one of these suitors was performing to try and get her hand in marriage. Some were performing more than others. They were performative males. These gentlemen were the precursors to our matcha drinking Claro listeners. Men putting on a show to get linked is not a new concept. However, there is a big difference between the performative males from Pride and Prejudice and the ones that are polluting our For You pages today, but
Now is not the time for analysis. That comes later.
now we are going to talk about how the suitor formula evolved from the 1800s and how that led to our modern performative male. While it did remain strong, things in society changed that affected this formula. So buckle up, everybody. It's quite a long journey, and I'm standing in front of a whiteboard for a good reason this video. So pay attention. Sorry to the drawings that are on the wall. This is necessary.
I am necessary evil.
Hey, we got a nice clean whiteboard. Okay. Hi guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm in a different outfit. This is because it's several days later. I had some revisions to my original lecture. So we started with the traditional suitor formula, which is the Pride and Prejudice thing. And then the first domino was the shift away from this traditional formula. The shift away from traditional gender roles, which led to freer expression from both sides. Now, it's important to note that traditional gender roles are still very much in play today, okay? And it's not going anywhere whether you like it or not. But yeah, at some point as a species, we thought, hey, maybe rigid, misogynistic marriage culture is not the way to go about this. Domino number 2, relationships become casual. So, the shift away from traditional gender roles meant that the meaning of courtship also shifted. Courtship was no longer a political move or a cultural gambit between two families, and no longer a way to help the bloodline survive. These days, if you pick up a girl at a bar, you don't have to pay her father a dowry, unless you're this guy, I guess. Courtship now meant actual relationships. The ritualisticness of courtship faded, making relationships a much more casual thing, even if it still involved a path to marriage. Domino number 3. People gain more freedom of choice. Particularly women. Now everybody, both men and women, have the power to choose their partners. However, this meant that relationships for men were no longer as secure because women can have standards too. Nowadays, if a woman is unhappy with her partner, she can leave him, generally. This domino also means less commitment because it feels like you have unlimited choice. If you leave your partner now, you could always leave them for a potentially better partner, especially if you're on a dating app. And as we all know, 99% of gamblers quit right before they hit big. And that leads us to domino number 4. Bad behavior is condoned. If you cheated in Victorian England, it was the biggest scandal ever, and you were going to hell and you would never feel the touch of another human being ever again. If you cheated in the 90s, it was terrible behavior and a scandal, but there's a chance that you could remarry. If you cheat in our year of 2025, it's mild gossip that people enjoy, and it's very easy for you to find another partner. So because relationships are so casual nowadays, people don't think there's too much of a problem with making bad decisions. Because again, you can re-roll. You have basically unlimited tries. They even make TV shows about it. Domino number 5. There's a shortage of good partners. Now, keep in mind, there's a shortage of partners on both sides, okay? So please shut up. Because everyone sucks, and not just one team. But that being said, I'm trying to carve a path towards performative males. So we will be focusing on men, okay? So if you're a man, just suck it up, okay? So because there's so much casual bad behavior going around, it's really hard for women to find a good male partner because men are not trying. Because relationships are casual. So men don't need to try. This gradually made certain traits that were very commonplace back then gradually become not as common among the male population, such as being a gentleman, dressing well, being very masculine, etc. And as far as men's behavior is going, we are not behaving in a way that invites positive relationships and good social change.
A platypus? Parry the platypus!
We have literally gone full circle from misogyny to progression to chaos, and then chaos took the form of a new kind of misogyny. We literally went from treating women bad back to treating women bad. This is so mind-blowing how, like what the fuck are we doing? Now, am I saying that women don't do diabolical things? No, of course not. Women do diabolical things as much as men do. And there's no excuse for bad behavior from anybody. But again, we are talking about men in this video, not performative women. And by the way, the answer to the who cheats more argument is that men historically cheat more, which I think is because women, again, had less choice back then. But because of all these dominoes, women are actually getting those numbers up and closing the gap. So well done, everyone. You all suck. So now, what are we left with? The result of all these dominoes is a dating pool where relationships are casual, hookups and messy situationships are frequent, and standards for men are in the shitter. And needless to say, it's pretty shit. In our society's pursuit of throwing misogynistic relationship standards out the window, we unintentionally threw away something that we took for granted: structure. And that is the real reason modern dating culture is an absolute shit show with broken standards. Not because men are stupid, not because women are stupid, but because we are all stupid. And this is the current state of the dating pool. And that is what led to the birth of the Now, chaos does not mean barbarity. Even within the chaos, innovation took place. Some men began to realize, wait, I can stand out by doing certain things. And to be honest, it's not even that hard. And this led to some men genuinely becoming good potential partners. Turns out it doesn't take a genius to be a good person, it really doesn't. But what if you aren't a good person? What do you do then? Well, ideally people don't date you and you don't breed and your bloodline dies with you. But performative males discovered that instead of being genuinely good, there are certain things that they can do to still outshine the rest. There are two things about the performative male that made it work so well. You know what? I'll just turn this off for now, and you can go do your homework or whatever. See you next week.